and bolts out of the way, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our federal agencies representatives, beginning with Krista Mills from the HUD Louisville Field Office. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and I welcome you on behalf of our Secretary, Sean Donovan, as well as our federal panel represented here today, not just at the stage right now, but that will also be joining you for the 2-hour workshop segment of our day. I want to thank Congressman Yarmuth for engaging us in this conference. It is the first one to be conducted nationally based on the new partnership among the federal agencies to address sustainability issues throughout the nation. There's been a significant policy shift in Washington, which is why we're beginning to do these throughout the nation. And we're setting the stage for everyone to follow us, and hopefully we'll be able to do that in a very productive way today. The policy shift is that for the first time in the history of the agencies, although we may talk to one another from time to time, the policy shift is that we're actually writing notices of funding availability together, we're consulting with each other, we are working together to develop comprehensive policy and notices of funding to the public. And that is an unprecedented cooperation among the initial 3 members of this new partnership, which are HUD, Secretary Donovan, as well as Transportation Secretary LaHood, and EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson. Now, those are the starting points for the partnership, and we have invited also today to be with us the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as part of this partnership, because they have an incredible initiative called Healthy Community Design, which you will learn about further today. And so we're looking at not just the housing, the transportation, the environmental issues, but also pedestrian safety and obesity and how community design affects how all of us live in concert with the environments we're in. So in addition to that, I want to thank the University of Kentucky, who has devoted not just this semester of study, but has been studying sustainability throughout the entire school year, and HUD is working with them on another project as well for Eastern Kentucky. So they have committed a tremendous amount of resources and have been working with us diligently on a number of issues. There will be other federal partnerships to federal agencies that will join this partnership over time. We just wanted to get a solid foundation with the top 3 at this point, and I say top 3 because we identified the top 3 based on some research data. And so at some point USDA will join us, Department of Energy. There are a number of federal agencies, again, that we will intersect with. But the reason we started with the 3 that we did is that for the average household, it's about 52% for the income of an average household that is spent on both housing and transportation. 34% on housing and 18% on transportation. Now that's the average household. That's my household, that's your household. That is not the cost burden households that often HUD sees that are paying more than 30% of their income for living expenses. So you look at a household that is 50% burdened by its housing cost, and you add that 18% on top of that just to get to work and to back home again, then you're talking about a significant contribution to or a significant deduction from the incomes of the families that we're talking about. So that is one of the first points of the partnership, which we'll be covering today at length. There's been another change as a result of the partnership, and this is one of the most significant changes in regard to HUD. We have Congressman Yarmuth to thank for 2 of those things. The first being HUD has established and had requested from Congress to establish a new office called the Office of Sustainable Housing and Communities. It's a newly established office. It was signed into law in January, and we were beginning to implement, along with DOT, the Department of Transportation, and the Environmental Protection Agency, the notices of funding that will go forward, as well as the policy shifts that will go forward. The important thing right now in regard to that particular office is that we have, and this is an unprecedented opportunity for communities nationwide to comment ahead of the notice of funding availability for $100 million for regional planning grants. Now, when I say advance ability to contribute to that is we're going throughout the country. Our deputy secretary is in Newark, New Jersey today. He was in Tampa, Florida on Friday. We have all of you today. That this is an opportunity to comment on how that grant should be written prior to the grant being published to the community. So as experts in your fields, this is a chance to say, well, as a stakeholder and as somebody who's working on the ground, we think this should be included in the notice of funding when you write it. In addition to inviting you to participate in that, we are also working with the Department of Transportation and the Environmental Protection Agency, who will be contributing to the writing and also the evaluation of those grants after the notice of funding has been published and the application period has closed. If you want to comment, and we certainly encourage you that you do, the university will be commenting as well as the students. I believe the students are required to comment. They're going to put at least one comment in per student. The closing period for the comments is March 12th. There's information, the HUD table is back to my right in the far back, and there is information there that you can pick up as to the website and the portal of the website where you can get information. My cards are also on that table, so if for some reason you cannot find it, there's also HUD staff back there. We can take your name, or if you want to call me, we'll make sure that you get to the website, because we're very serious about listening to our stakeholders and their contribution to how that will be eventually written and published for applications. As I mentioned, that's for $100 million. The office itself was funded, and this is an all-new appropriation, $150 million overall. This is the first $100 million that will be out there for grants and for your applications eventually. But for HUD, it's not about the $150 million appropriation for this new office, but it is also the office not just working with our partner federal agencies, but it's really for us, that $150 million is about what do we do with the $44 billion that we administer annually. So we're not looking just to say, okay, here's some information that we can distribute to the public on $100 million or $150 million, but it's really about integrating all of these principles into every piece of funding that HUD offers to the communities nationwide. And in closing, I'd like to thank again all of our federal partners who are here with us today, and the other ones that will join us shortly, the panel experts that will be interacting with you. Thank Congressman Yarmuth for engaging us in this opportunity and allowing us to be the first in the nation to do this. And I especially want to thank Dean Michael Speaks of the University of Kentucky, who has devoted the year of study on sustainability in his studios through the School of Architecture, and also Dr. David Biaggi, the director of the School of Architecture, and particularly Gary Warbacher, who has worked intimately with Gil and me and the rest of the panel to make sure that this is a day that is useful to you. And finally, I want to thank the students, because they have done the grunt work, as it is, to get all of the technology, all of the research that they will present to you on best practices, as well as facilitating the day for you and with us. And as I close, I want to say that this is the beginning of a conversation. There's no way in a 3-hour period that we can impart all of the information about sustainability and the new federal partnership. However, you are welcome to engage us in conversation and technical assistance via the phone. We can plan meetings together. There are a number of ways that you can continue to interact with us and that we can with you. In your packages, there are the names and numbers with the bios, as well as the email addresses. So don't stop with today when we conclude the conference.